Okay, I switched it. It says screen 2 on my.
Screen 2? Try screen 1.
There's main screen. Or there's screen 2.
Try screen 2. Perfect. Okay. Go on. Let's go ahead and go through our script and then
Okay. We apologize to all of you that are on. We had some technical difficulties. Seems to be coming from GoToWebinar, but if we could, before I start, on the box on your right, there should be a box that shows a little hand for you to ask questions. If someone could just tell us if you're able to hear us clearly, please, that would be great. Then we can proceed. Very good. We got an acknowledgement from someone. Yay! Modern technology never tends to amaze.
We got this.
Good afternoon, everyone. Today's webinar is 2018 Floral Trends, and it is hosted by NAPCO. It's scheduled to begin at 4, so we apologize that we're a little bit late. We are going to jump right in. I'm Jackie Lacey, Director of Education at BloomNet and Lead Design Instructor for Floriology Institute. And my co-presenter today is Leslie Bolden, AISD CFD, and she's the Product Development Manager for NAPCO. We know your time is valuable, so we're going to schedule to go for 30 minutes, and we will go our full 30 minutes, even though we started late. And then we'll leave about 5 or 10 minutes for questions and answers at the end. Don't hesitate during the broadcast, though. If you have a question, raise your hand. Renato Segecco is here monitoring those questions, and he will pass those on to us so that we can answer them as we go while we're talking about something. There's always a lot of things going on at Floriology Institute, so we hope that you're following us on Facebook and that you're visiting floriologyinstitute.com to find out the latest news, the blog posts, what webinars we're hosting, and a wide range of topics. We have 2 upcoming courses that I do want to mention right now. Our newest course, Floral Operations for Profitability, debuts on November 5th and 6th. Features Charlie Howard, Renato Segecco, and myself, and we're sharing a lot of insightful information on optimal flower shop operations and finance. We have just about sold out for that class, but we do have a couple of spots left. If you're interested, we packed a lot of information into 2 days. It's really half a day on Sunday, half a day on Monday, which would allow you to fly in on Sunday morning and then be back in your shop by Monday afternoon. And then due to the hurricane last month, we had to reschedule our course, Reinventing Everyday Design with Donald Jim, for November 11th through the 13th. Again, we have a couple of spots left for that, but we have a full class. When we had to change, everyone was able to fit it into their schedule and change to November instead of its regularly scheduled October date. So for more information on both of those and many other courses, be sure to register on Floriology Institute/register, and it will bring up all of our courses, and you can register for any of them there, including our webinars. Thank you for your patience, again, for our delay in start, and we're going to jump right in. Thank you so much for joining us, and we're happy to present today's webinar, 2018 Floral Trends for Spring and Garden. One of the things that I wanted to do was just to let you know that not only am I a Director of Education at BloomNet and Lead Design Instructor for Floriology, but I've also worked on many product development teams, taught floral design all over the world, and I'm currently the National Vice President for AISD. My co-presenter today, Leslie Bolden, is the Product Development Manager for NAPCO, the Senior Showroom Designer, and has presented the main stage program for AISD National Symposium, so she's very versed at not just the very start points of this, but traveling over to China, developing the products, bringing them back, and putting them on display. So we have a lot of great information that we can garner from Leslie today. Just a quick housekeeping note, if you do have any questions, like I said, during the broadcast, just raise your hand on the screen that's on the right, and Renato will pass that on to us. So let's get started. We want to welcome everyone for the broadcast. Apologize, there we go. Welcome. Designing possibilities and imagination for creativity can run wild. And on the following pages, we're going to look at a lot of comprehensive collections on the trends for Spring and Garden 2018. The consumer desires and influences are constantly changing. And with that, we have to do trend reports at least on a yearly basis, and we actually do them here twice a year. So we get a lot of practice at putting these together, starting with Leslie. One of the things we thought would be important was to talk about what is a floral trend report, because a lot of people look at them and they really don't know where to even start. Trend reports show how the value of one or more items change over the course of time. Each of the manufacturers that develop products across the world will set that on their own pace. Like I said, we do it twice a year. Sometimes people do it only once a year, but there are many different companies that do supply those. Flower trends are constantly evolving, and we're going to provide you with links at the end of this broadcast where you can connect with not only our website or our trend report, but also some of the other ones that are available in the market. Leslie, when you first start to look at developing a trend report, where do you even know where to begin?
That's it's a lot of places, but I always go to the experts. I start with Pantone colors. They are the color mongrels of the world. So I check to see what they're doing, you know, what they've done for the past year, what they're doing the year of, and what they're doing moving forward, because they do tend to carry some of the same tones with slight alterations into the next season. So that's pretty much where I start. From there, I just do a lot of research. I research paint companies. They have teams that Sherwin-Williams, Behr, all of those places. They tell you what colors are most popular that people are using in their homes and are using to decorate. So that gives me a lot of inspiration of where to start.
Probably one of the things we could share is a lot of people don't know that trends generally start in fashion.
They do.
And we're going to see that on the runways, Milan, and other places around the world. They'll spill over from fashion into home decor, which is a lot of paint and furniture companies. And then they get into home decor, which is where we actually fit. Is that the same process that you use as well?
It is, and it's really interesting, too, because not only does it start in fashion, but even the fashion starts overseas and works its way here. So not only does the fashion start the trend, then the trend moves into the States, then the trend from fashion moves into home decor, then the home decor influences what people are seeing every day in their friends' homes and the stores, and then that's when everybody starts really picking up and it really becomes a trend.
So it really is one of the things that wraps around the world constantly.
It does.
Starting in fashion and working back around to China, and then coming back to home decor and wrapping back to China for development, and then back to the States to be sold.
Right.
So it truly is a vicious circle. That being said, how do we use trend reports or forecasts? And I really try to narrow it down. It was one of those tools that we use to define, to predict, and to provide. And the reason that I listed it that way is because it really defines dominant and supporting color schemes. Like Leslie mentioned, that's where she starts, even as she starts to develop here for NAPCO. It defines trends in surface textures, materials, and finishes, and then it will predict popular textures, colors, shapes, and sizes. Although it is very challenging to predict what the consumer is going to be looking for, how do you use those to start to put a collection together?
The other interesting thing about trends is not only do they tend to travel globally through different fashion and home decor, but they also tend to repeat themselves over periods of time. So you can actually do research into the history of trends and start to see where these influences are coming from and when they're starting to come back. So sometimes I'll see an influence of the 70s or the 90s out in fashion or home decor, and I'll start to see a few of them, and I'm like, okay, that's going to be the lead foot into this is where it's going. And so that kind of like bringing plaids into Christmas, having that be a hot trend. Think about the 90s when everyone wore the plaid flannel shirts, you know, the grunge era.
I'm not sure I want to think about that.
And then the 90s was a redo of the 70s, but each generation that comes up and reinvents that look adds their own twist to it with a little modern take on it. So it's just paying attention to that and seeing what they're doing.
And everything truly is cyclical. It's
it really is.
Circle back around time and time again. And one of the things we're finding in the market today is that we're dealing with so many generations, and we have generational influences that are embedded into those trends, and they're constantly changing. Keeping up with what's a fad versus what's going to be a trend is also one of the things that tends to trip us up sometimes.
And there's a big difference there. Yeah.
Big difference.
Fads can come and go so quickly. By the time you get your product in, it might have already passed with your your demographic of your area.
It is a lot different today than it used to be with product development because you have a much faster turnaround. When you start to put together the trend report and then have product development, what's the time frame that's usually involved?
We work about a year plus out from the season. So we are getting ready now. We just got done shopping in China for holiday 2018. So I started designing holiday 2018 at the beginning of July 2017. So you kind of get a little, you work ahead a little bit, but it also helps to see what becomes really hot that season in 2017 that you know is going to be a strong carry forward into 2018. And I start to build off of it that way a little bit.
And we are seeing a lot of things that do hang around for several years, and so some things come, some things go, so we constantly getting some influence of new products in every collection and every season that we see. We do have some other areas that we look to those floral trends, looking to the wedding trends that are provided to us from Florist Review. They also do a lot of the gardens. They provide a lot of valuable information from other designers around the world. Also looking at the international floral distributors and the forecast that they do every year. Michael Scaff is a big hand in that and putting it together. So we look at what everyone else puts out and then look at what we found and start to put the collections together. As we look to the specific NAPCO trend that we're introducing today, we do divide it up into themes, and I'm assuming you do that for a specific reason?
We do. A lot of the trends can have various looks. So we try to show the versatility of our products, and we lump them into a theme to give an overall cohesive look. If there's a specific item you're looking for, a specific look or texture, it kind of helps narrow down where in our showroom you can go to, because we do have a lot of items in our showroom. And it also helps give an overall feel to the product. So you can see where we were coming from with our trend research and where that influenced our products with the accompanying paint colors on the walls and enhancements and that sort.
And I want to take the opportunity right now, too. As you can see, we have the themes up here. We're not going to go through every theme. At the end of this webinar, you will be able to, you will receive an email tomorrow that will provide you a link where you will be able to visit this as well as a lot of other information. And I want to make sure that those of you that are watching on Facebook also log into the webinar, because before this presentation ends today, we're going to provide a promo code only to those people that are logged into the webinar that will give you some valuable discounts for purchases, as well as provide those links for you where you'll be able to get a copy of this presentation as well as the information that we're providing. But again, it's only to those that are on the webinar. So be sure and log in and join us there so that we'll have a way to contact you.
Hey, Jackie, we do have a question from the audience. This is Renato. Are current trends specific to general audiences in all locations, i.e. East, West, Coast, Central, or Northerners?
Absolutely, and I'll let you chime in on that one as well, Leslie. But what we're going to do going from this point forward is really talk more about the elements, the floral enhancements that can be brought into these trends, the colors, really the specifics that you can pull from each of those trends or forecasts to use no matter where you are. Do you want to add something to that, Leslie?
I do find sometimes that trends do start on one coast or the other and work their way across. But at the same time, I think the tried and true trends that you're seeing everywhere are all being used at the same time throughout the entire country. There might just be a different interpretation on it, whether it's a galvanized that's being dressed up or if it's a galvanized that's being rusted down into a farmhouse look. So I think there's truth in both.
And I think another thing that's really important, too, to keep in mind is, as we're going to suggest here, you really should look at these trends for your specific area. You know your own market.
Right.
And in some of the markets that are a little hard to get to, i.e. that are not a big city, the trends may come into the city faster than they'd spread out into the meadows, so to speak, or into the mountainous areas. So your trends may not be seen for 6 months, a year, even a year and a half to 2 years later.
Right.
Just like we see with color. And a lot of these you'll find, too, have a lot of crossover power. They carry on from season to season, so you're going to want to have the trends that are current as well as some of the trends that have already passed, just to make sure that you have the products that will feed both of those or all of those generations.
And be the supplier in town that's bringing the trend into the area. Be the first one to do it. I think that's really important too.
Being a trendsetter.
Exactly. As opposed to waiting for everyone else to get it, then they might go to those other people first. Go ahead and bring it into your shop or your location.
Absolutely. One of the places that we talked about that Leslie mentioned is we start with color. Color is going to spread from fashion into furniture and home decor, and then spread around to what we're developing as well. And what we've dropped in here are both the Pantone colors, and then you can see very clearly that the colors that we've selected for the NAPCO trends for spring and garden are directly drawn from those Pantone colors. Pantone is a world color group that sort of sets the space for color, don't they, Leslie?
They do, and they have an amazing team that does extensive amounts of research that I can't.
I
don't have
can't
time
figure it
to
out.
do. So yeah, they're a great jumping off point for helping out.
And a lot of people, not just in our industry, but any industry that uses artistic ability, just like the elements and principles are used in all those, this is one of the groups, Pantone, that also supplies color for a lot of those. Looking at the elements, what we have done is we've listed out a lot of the elements that are very easily seen in not only the NAPCO trends, but in trends in general through the forecast. They match side by side a lot, and we've highlighted some of the ones that are more popular. Do you want to talk a little bit about those and how you put them into the various collections?
Sure. A huge trend right now is the galvanized metals and the rusted look. It can go anywhere from an industrial rustic look to a farmhouse rural look. And you can even find some of the shinier, more updated galvanized pieces that can be brought into more of a modern feel. So that's one thing that I like to do with our lines here at NAPCO is if you look at our Smoky Blush theme, it has a lot of the really popular marbles and warm metals that really give it that urban look, but then at the same time I've added in some of that really popular galvanized to kind of bring it down a little bit, and it just softens it some. So by doing that, it helps you with the versatility of your product as well. As you can see, we've talked about relaxing coastal. This is a big influence from blue being so popular for a year or so now. Distressed woods fall into that rustic feel again with the galvanized and the rusted metals. Relief designs and patterns, texture, it's huge right now. Wallpaper's coming back. People are using it in their homes for all kinds of fun textures and looks instead of just a raw color. Like I said, marble, huge, really popular right now. And then a lot of the natural things too. A lot of the newer generations are getting into planting, growing plants in their home, having that natural earthy look. So that birch and moss and bark is really important. Neutral tones have been here forever. I read one article, I believe it was Bear Paint. They were talking about the graying of America because really neutral colors are becoming the new base for everything. And then people are adding in their own take, their own pops of color into it. So these are just some of the things that help me out with designing the line.
And if we look at the list, what's amazing, and when you start looking at distressed woods, marble, birch bark, simple shapes, neutral tones, earthy textures, it's all natural.
It is.
And it has been for quite some time, and textures have been huge for 10 years or so.
Mm-hmm.
They just continue to change and develop.
Right.
So it's great the way a lot of things that you probably have in your supply already can easily move into today's trends just by putting on a fresh coat of paint.
Exactly.
Or adding a little more texture.
A new item to complement it.
Absolutely. I'm looking at some of the products that we have available that we thought were important to just emphasize what we were talking about. The bark and moss container, the cachet that has the 3D flowers on it.
The really
everywhere, very
hot right now.
And a lot of things that are hanging that goes back to those macrame days that unfortunately I can still remember.
And they're back.
I had to live through it once, now I'm going to have to live through it again. But really seeing a lot of this just reinforces the fact that things are cyclical. And coming right back into colors, textures, and some of those standards. Looking at the galvanized metals and those things that today's generation wants to buy brand new that looks like it was beat up by someone else's family.
Right, and they didn't grow up with it. They haven't already seen it everywhere, so they're embracing it and they're throwing their own look on it.
Absolutely, and it's brand new again, so we want to take that advantage of even pulling out some of those things out of the closet. I know with most florists, you have from the ceiling to the floor, and we tend to fill up that space with everything we possibly can. So get some of those things down and put on a fresh coat of paint, add a little bit of texture, and see where you can put it on the sales floor. One of the other things that we thought was important that you want to look for in your trends and forecast as it comes out are what flowers are going to be popular. And maybe you can just talk about some of these and why they fit in with the trends.
Well, with our products being mostly geared towards floral designers and garden centers, a lot of containers, we also pay attention to what's trending as far as the plant material goes, because that's going to help us decide what type of containers we need to bring in and what's going to complement those hot varieties. Succulents have been popular for a while now, still going strong. They're so easy to grow. They're cool. There's so many different varieties, but it's definitely a favorite of the younger generation. As far as the Dusty Millers, a lot of the gray greenery is coming back. Eucalyptus is starting to become a really hot item again for weddings and events. I've seen a lot of that. Along with any of the greenery mixtures, juniper, sage, all of these different colors of green mixed together. And I think some of that influence is probably the greenery being Pantone Color of the Year and everybody really embracing that idea of nature and natural and looking at the textures of the different greens.
Well, and even seeing a bigger demand for designs that are just greenery. Just
right.
Various
I've seen a
green.
lot of weddings lately that are just that.
And we know that we always have those keywords, and we've gone from that retro and,
right.
and historic to now everyone's keyword is romantic, which a lot of these are just ways for us to visualize what we're going to put together and how it will work. And if you look at this list of floral products, it really does fit into all of the categories and themes, as well as it fits into that romantic feeling that everyone is looking for. Also, one of the things that Pantone did is when we looked at this is they provided some of the floral products that would also directly relate to the colors that they're suggesting that are going to be out there. So another great reason to pick up this trend, as well as take some of those links at the end of the program that we're going to provide that will allow you to really study up on that and know how, to, as a professional, to lead those people that come into your shop or call on the phone. One of the other things that we're seeing with the greenery is a lot of the natural evergreens being used, succulents, and we provided some of those samples here for you to look at and to be able to enjoy. The popularity of terrariums is still just unbelievable.
It is.
Everyone wants that little bit of nature, and I think a lot of it goes back to the city of not having that available readily and being able to bring some of that farm, woodlands home. Yeah. And we also put some of the floral products on there. Dahlias are huge, and it's one of those flowers that sort of has a love-hate relationship with most florists because they can be so delicate, so expensive and hard to get, but people really are appreciating them today and adding them through some of the other products that are available. Renato, did we happen to have any more questions at this time?
No, not at the moment.
All right. We are going to end the live feed at this time. Like we said, if you want to be able to get a copy of this as well as the promo code that we're going to be providing, you'll need to log on now. Thank you so much for joining us on Facebook. We appreciate it, and we're going to continue the webinar now so that we can pass out some of those links. Is there anything, the last words that you want to add about trends and utilizing a trend report, Leslie?
Really just don't try to force a trend into your area. Really look at what your clientele is and what they're looking for, and be the one to show them how a new trend that they haven't embraced yet can be worked in, even if they don't understand how. Be that go-between. Do your research, look at all of the different options that there are out there, and really help to move that trend forward in your area.
Great. Again, thank you for joining us on Facebook. We're going to go back to the webinar. Those of you that are still in the webinar, we appreciate you staying through, and we hope that we have answered some of your questions about the trends. Again, you will receive an email tomorrow that will provide the link to this printout so that you will have all of the trends there with you, and really look at what they're showing you, not just getting caught up in it has to be this particular item or it has to be that. One of the most important things about trends is to make sure that you're mixing them. When you start to merchandise your store, you want to make sure that you have some glass, a basket, a metal, a ceramic that's mixed together so that you hit all those important areas with the trend. And then also, don't be afraid when you're on the phone. Remember, a lot of times that's the only contact you have with the client. You want to make sure that you ask them what they're looking for, but then what is the recipient going to want? Because sometimes those two things can be completely different. To get to the NAPCO trend report, we are going to have all of these links embedded in the paperwork that we send you tomorrow. But one of the most exciting things that we wanted to share with you is that NAPCO has decided to do a promo trend, Promo Trends 25, and that's the keyword, Trends 25. Will give you for a limited time a $25 credit on your purchase of at least $250, and no one else is going to receive it unless you logged in to the webinar. So you guys are the only ones that are going to be able to take advantage of that. But we also have so many other promos that are going on here at NAPCO with shipping and other things like that. You'll want to be sure that you call. And the great thing is that it's not just for the spring and garden trend products. It's for all products here at NAPCO. So it's a great opportunity for you to put that towards your profit margin, and be sure and call in. We have the numbers listed, 800-356-2726, or you can also call 904-737-8500. But this code will only be good to the end of day on Tuesday, October 31st. Again, those numbers are 1-800-356-2726 or 904-737-8500. Renato, are there any last questions?
Yes. How do I get a NAPCO catalog? Are they mailed out?
Again, call either one of those numbers and you can provide your information there. They'll be happy to drop you a NAPCO catalog, as well as that'll put you on the list to get the holiday catalog that Leslie is currently working on. Any other questions?
No, that's it right now.
We appreciate everyone joining us so much. Leslie, thank you so much for the insightful information and for being with us today. We hope you guys have enjoyed this. If you have any questions and would like to reach out to either one of us to respond, you can reach me, Jackie, at floriologyinstitute.com, or you can reach Leslie by going to lbolden@napcoimports.com. Thank you, everyone, for your participation, and have a great day. Hope to see you again on another webinar.
Bye.